What if every word you speak is a command, an incantation, a magic wand that is constantly shaping your reality for good or for ill? We obsess over our thoughts and feelings, pouring hours into visualization exercises and meditation practices, yet we remain utterly blind to the power we unleash the moment we give those thoughts voice. In the early 20th century, one woman dared to teach what the ancient mystics knew, but modern seekers had forgotten: that the spoken word was the most direct and powerful tool for commanding reality itself, a truth she insisted was hidden in plain sight in every holy book, every sacred text, every spiritual tradition that had ever guided humanity toward its divine potential. You have tried the affirmations, haven't you? You have stood before the mirror, repeating your carefully crafted statements of abundance, health, and success, feeling the words dissolve into the air like smoke, producing nothing but the hollow echo of your own voice and the creeping sense that you are talking to yourself, that the universe is deaf to your pleas. This is the pain of the modern seeker, the feeling of being unheard by the very forces you are trying to invoke, the exhausting cycle of doing the work, following the teachings, and yet watching your reality remain stubbornly unchanged, as if there is some secret ingredient missing from the recipe, some hidden key that unlocks the door between intention and manifestation. You begin to wonder if the teachers were lying, if the law of attraction is nothing more than wishful thinking dressed up in spiritual language, if you are simply not one of the chosen few for whom these mystical principles actually work. Many teachings focus obsessively on the silent work of the subconscious mind, instructing you to impress your desires upon that vast, mysterious repository through feeling, through visualization, through the repetition of silent thoughts. But Florence Scovel Shinn, a metaphysical teacher who walked the streets of New York in the early 1900s, revealed a critical missing link that transforms everything. The subconscious mind is most powerfully impressed not just by feeling, not just by mental imagery, but by the vibration and authority of the spoken word itself. The spoken word carries a force that silent thought cannot match, because it engages the physical body, creates actual sound waves that ripple through the material world, and establishes a bridge between the invisible realm of consciousness and the visible realm of form. When you speak, you are not merely expressing what is already in your mind, you are actively creating, commanding, casting your intention into the world with a power that the ancients understood as literal magic. The promise before you is this: you will learn Florence Scovel Shinn's precise method of speaking the word, a technique that transforms your affirmations from passive wishes into active, creative commands that your subconscious mind must obey, that the universe must answer, that reality itself must reflect back to you. Shinn was not a philosopher lost in abstract theory. She was a master of practical magic and divine law, a woman who taught her students to wield their voices as instruments of deliberate creation, producing results so consistent and so dramatic that her slim volumes became underground classics, passed from hand to hand among those who discovered that her simple techniques worked when nothing else did. She understood that there are laws governing the creative power of speech, laws as precise and reliable as the laws of physics, and she dedicated her life to teaching ordinary people how to use these laws to play the game of life and win. In this video, you will learn why the spoken word acts as a bridge between the conscious and subconscious mind, why it carries a creative force that silent thought alone cannot generate, and how you can harness this force to reshape your reality with surgical precision. You will discover the three-part formula for creating powerful spoken commands, what Shinn called affirmations that stick, statements so perfectly constructed that they bypass the conscious mind's doubt and impress themselves directly upon the subconscious, where all manifestation begins. This is not theory. This is a technology of consciousness, a step-by-step process that anyone can learn and apply immediately, and the results will speak for themselves in the transformation of your circumstances. But before we begin, you must understand something crucial. There is a specific type of word, a class of phrases that most people use dozens of times every single day, that acts like a cancel order to the universe, instantly neutralizing your positive commands no matter how powerfully you speak them, no matter how much conviction you muster, no matter how perfectly you follow every other instruction. These words are so common, so deeply embedded in everyday speech, that you probably used them several times already today without even noticing, and they are sabotaging your manifestations before they can even begin to form. I will reveal these fatal words in part 4, and when you recognize them in your own speech patterns, you will understand why so many of your previous attempts at affirmation have failed. For now, I want you to pause this video and share in the comments below one affirmation you have used in the past that didn't seem to work, that felt hollow or powerless, and when we reach part 4, you will understand exactly why it failed and how to fix it. Florence Scovel Shinn built her entire teaching upon a single elegant principle that she stated with perfect clarity. Life is a game, and it is a game of boomerangs, for our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy. This is not mere poetry. This is the fundamental law of cause and effect, operating at the level of consciousness itself, the recognition that every impulse you send out into the universe must, by the very structure of reality, return to you in kind. The universe is not a random chaos of disconnected events. It is a perfect mirror, a responsive field of infinite intelligence that takes your energetic output and reflects it back to you as your lived experience. And this mirroring happens with a precision that would astound you if you could see the exact correspondence between what you put out and what comes back. But within this law of boomerangs, the spoken word occupies a unique and supremely powerful position, because it combines thought with physical vibration, intention with manifestation, the invisible with the visible in a single act. When you think a thought, you are working entirely in the realm of consciousness, in the subtle, formless dimension where all creation begins, but where nothing yet exists in material form. When you speak that thought, you are doing something profoundly different. You are taking that invisible intention and giving it a body, translating it into sound waves that physically vibrate the air around you, that enter the ears of others, that can be recorded and played back, that exist as measurable phenomena in the material world. This is why the spoken word carries a creative impulse that silent thought alone cannot match. It is already halfway into manifestation, already bridging the gap between mind and matter. Consider what happens in the moment of speech. Your consciousness forms an intention. Your brain sends electrical signals to your vocal cords. Your lungs push air through your larynx. Your mouth and tongue shape that air into specific sounds, and those sounds travel outward as waves of compression and rarefaction in the atmosphere, physically altering the space around you. Every word you speak is an act of creation, a transformation of pure intention into physical reality, and this transformation carries enormous power because it engages both the spiritual and material dimensions simultaneously. You are not merely thinking about what you want. You are declaring it, announcing it, commanding it into being with the full force of your creative authority as a conscious being. The ancient mystics understood this power implicitly, which is why every spiritual tradition has recognized the spoken word as sacred, as dangerous, as capable of blessing or cursing, of healing or harming, of creating or destroying. In the Hebrew tradition, God speaks the world into existence with the words, "Let there be light," and light appears. The act of divine speech is the act of creation itself. In the Christian Gospels, John declares that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, elevating speech to the status of the divine creative principle. In the Hindu tradition, the sacred syllable Om is considered the primordial sound from which all of creation emanates, the vibrational frequency that underlies all manifest reality. These are not metaphors. They are recognitions of a fundamental truth about the nature of consciousness and its relationship to the physical world. Shinn understood that this ancient wisdom had been lost or forgotten by modern seekers who had become so focused on the inner work of thought and feeling that they had neglected the outer work of speech, the conscious use of the voice as an instrument of manifestation. She saw that people would spend hours in meditation, trying to impress their desires upon their subconscious minds through visualization and emotional intensity, yet they would then walk out into the world and casually speak words of lack, limitation, fear, and doubt, completely unaware that they were using their most powerful creative tool to manifest the very things they were trying to escape. It was as if they were carefully planting seeds in a garden, and then immediately walking through and pulling them all up, wondering why nothing ever grew. The game of life, as Shinn conceived it, is not a game of accumulating external resources or achieving conventional success. It is a game of learning to consciously direct your creative power, and the spoken word is the most direct and accessible tool you have for doing so. Every time you open your mouth, you are either playing the game skillfully or unskillfully, either commanding your desired reality into being or reinforcing the reality you claim to want to escape. There is no neutral speech. Every word is a creative act. Every sentence is a spell being cast. Every conversation is a ritual that shapes the energetic patterns that will manifest as your future circumstances. This is why Shinn insisted that her students become vigilant about their speech, not from a place of fear or superstition, but from a place of conscious mastery. She wanted them to recognize that they were already using the power of the spoken word every single day, but they were using it unconsciously, randomly, often in direct opposition to their stated desires. The solution was not to stop speaking, but to start speaking with intention, with awareness, with a clear understanding of the law they were invoking every time they gave voice to a thought. She taught that once you understand this law, once you truly grasp that your words are commands being executed by the universe, you can never speak carelessly again. You become a conscious creator, wielding your voice as the magic wand it has always been. The boomerang principle operates with perfect justice and perfect precision, but it operates on the level of vibration, not on the level of superficial meaning. This is a crucial distinction that most people miss. The universe does not respond to what you think your words mean. It responds to the vibrational frequency those words carry, the emotional charge behind them, the conviction or doubt with which you speak them. You can say "I am abundant" 1,000 times, but if you speak those words with a tone of desperation, with an underlying feeling of lack, with a voice that betrays your disbelief, then you are sending out the vibration of lack, and lack is what will return to you. The boomerang that comes back is not the one you thought you threw, it is the one you actually threw, the one that carried your true energetic signature. This is where Shinn's teaching becomes both challenging and liberating. She demands that you take complete responsibility for the reality you are experiencing, because that reality is the perfect reflection of the words you have been speaking, consciously or unconsciously for days, months, years, perhaps your entire life. If you are experiencing lack, it is because you have been speaking words of lack. If you are experiencing illness, it is because you have been speaking words of illness. If you are experiencing limitation, it is because you have been speaking words of limitation. This is not a moral judgment, it is simply the law of cause and effect operating at the level of creative speech. The moment you accept this responsibility, you also claim your power. Because if your words created your current reality, then your words can create a different reality. The spoken word is the most potent boomerang of all because it leaves no room for ambiguity or self-deception. Once you speak something aloud, you have committed to it in a way that silent thought never requires. You can think contradictory thoughts simultaneously, holding both desire and doubt in your mind, without resolving the tension between them. But when you speak, you must choose one or the other. You must give voice to a single, clear intention. This is why Shinn taught that the discipline of conscious speech is the fastest path to transformation. It forces you to clarify your intentions, to choose your reality, to stand behind your declarations with the full weight of your being. Every time you speak a word aligned with your desired reality, you are casting a vote for that reality, and when enough votes accumulate, the universe must deliver the result. The game of life is won by those who understand that they are not victims of circumstance, but creators of circumstance, and the primary tool of creation is not action, not planning, not strategy, but the conscious use of the spoken word to command the subconscious mind and the universal intelligence that responds to it. Shinn saw that most people live their entire lives in a state of unconscious creation, speaking whatever comes to mind, reacting to circumstances with words of complaint and limitation, never realizing that they are the architects of their own suffering. The masters of life, by contrast, are those who have learned to guard their speech as carefully as a swordsman guards his blade, knowing that every word is a cut that shapes reality, and that the master swordsman never makes an accidental cut. This principle of the boomerang extends to every area of life without exception. Your relationships reflect the words you speak about others and about yourself in relation to others. Your health reflects the words you speak about your body and its capacities. Your financial situation reflects the words you speak about money, abundance, and your worthiness to receive. Your opportunities reflect the words you speak about possibility and limitation. There is no aspect of your experience that is not shaped by your habitual patterns of speech, and this means that there is no aspect of your experience that cannot be transformed by changing those patterns. The game is not rigged against you. You simply haven't learned the rules yet. And the first rule is this: your spoken word is your magic wand, and you are casting spells all day long. Shinn's genius was in taking this ancient principle and making it practical, accessible, and immediately applicable to the everyday concerns of ordinary people. She did not speak in mystical abstractions. She gave concrete examples, specific formulas, exact words to use in exact situations. She understood that knowing the principle intellectually is worthless if you don't know how to apply it, and so she spent her career teaching people not just what the law was, but how to use it, how to craft their words with precision, how to speak with the authority of one who knows they are commanding divine law itself. This is the foundation upon which everything else rests. The recognition that your voice is not merely an instrument of communication, but an instrument of creation, and learning to use it as such is the beginning of mastery. To understand why the spoken word carries such extraordinary power, you must understand the relationship between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, and there is no better analogy than that of a ship's captain and the engine room. Your subconscious mind is the engine room of your life, the vast, powerful, tireless mechanism that runs every automatic function of your body, stores every memory you have ever formed, generates every emotion you feel, and most importantly, executes every command it receives without question, without judgment, without any capacity to distinguish between what is good for you and what is harmful. The subconscious is immensely powerful, capable of healing your body, attracting opportunities, solving problems, and manifesting circumstances with an efficiency that seems miraculous, but it is also completely impersonal, operating purely on the basis of the instructions it receives. Your conscious mind, by contrast, is the captain on the bridge, the part of you that thinks, reasons, makes decisions, and exercises choice. The captain has a relatively small amount of direct power. He cannot make the ship move by force of will alone, cannot physically turn the rudder or stoke the engines. But the captain has something far more important than direct power. He has authority. The captain gives commands, and those commands are executed by the engine room without question, because that is how the system is designed to work. The entire structure of the ship depends on this hierarchy. The captain decides where to go, and the engine room makes it happen. If this relationship breaks down, if the captain stops giving clear commands, or if the engine room stops obeying, the ship becomes rudderless, drifting wherever the currents take it. Now here is where the analogy becomes crucial to understanding Shinn's teaching. Your silent thoughts are the captain thinking about a destination, considering various options, weighing pros and cons, imagining what it would be like to arrive at different ports. This mental activity is important, certainly, but it does not move the ship. The engine room cannot hear the captain's thoughts. It is too far away, separated by layers of steel and machinery, operating in its own realm. The captain can think about going to New York for hours, days, years, and the ship will not move an inch toward New York unless the captain does something more than think. He must give a command, and that command must be delivered in a form that the engine room can receive and execute. Your spoken word is the captain, giving a clear, audible command down the speaking tube to the engine room. The moment the captain speaks into that tube, his intention is transformed from a private thought into a public declaration, from an idea into an instruction, from possibility into action. The speaking tube is the direct line of communication between the bridge and the engine room, between conscious intention and subconscious execution. And when a command travels down that tube, the engine room hears it and immediately begins to carry it out. This is not a metaphor in the sense of being merely poetic. It is a functional description of how your mind actually works. The subconscious mind responds to the spoken word with a directness and immediacy that it does not give to silent thought, because the spoken word carries a quality of commitment, of decision, of authority that silent thought lacks. The engine room does not care whether the captain is joking or serious, whether he is speaking in anger or in calm deliberation, whether he fully understands the consequences of his command or is speaking carelessly. The engine room has one job: to execute commands. If the captain speaks into the tube and says, "Full speed ahead into the rocks," the engine room will drive the ship into the rocks. If the captain says, "Reverse engines, we're going backward," the ship will go backward. The engine room is perfectly obedient, perfectly efficient, and completely without judgment. It does not evaluate whether a command is wise or foolish, beneficial or destructive. It simply obeys. This is the nature of the subconscious mind, and this is why idle, negative words are so dangerous. Every time you speak, you are giving a command to your subconscious mind, whether you intend to or not, whether you believe in this principle or not, whether you are paying attention or not. When you say, "I can't afford that," you are commanding your subconscious to maintain and reinforce a state of financial lack. When you say, "I always get sick in the winter," you are commanding your subconscious to produce illness when winter arrives. When you say, "Nothing ever works out for me," you are commanding your subconscious to ensure that nothing works out for you. These are not mere observations of reality. They are creative commands that shape reality, and your subconscious executes them with perfect fidelity because that is its function. It hears the command, accepts it as an instruction from the captain, and sets about making it true. Most people live their entire lives without realizing that they are constantly giving commands to their subconscious through their casual, habitual speech, and then they wonder why their lives seem to be running on autopilot, heading in directions they never consciously chose. They think they are simply describing their reality when they speak, simply reporting on conditions as they find them, but in truth, they are prescribing their reality, instructing their subconscious to create more of what they are describing. The ship of their life is not drifting randomly. It is following the commands they have been giving day after day, year after year, through the words they speak without thinking. Shinn understood this mechanism with perfect clarity, and she taught her students that the first step in mastering the game of life is to become aware of the commands they are giving. She would tell them to listen to their own speech as if they were listening to someone else, to notice the patterns, the recurring phrases, the automatic responses that come out of their mouths without conscious thought. What do you say when someone asks how you are? What do you say when you look at your bank account? What do you say when you think about your future? These habitual phrases are the commands that are running your life, and if you want to change your life, you must change these commands. The power of this analogy extends even further when you consider what happens when the captain gives contradictory commands. Imagine the captain speaks into the tube and says, "Full speed ahead to New York," and then 5 minutes later says, "No, wait, full speed ahead to London," and then 5 minutes after that says, "Actually, I don't think we can make it to either place, just drift here." What does the engine room do? It tries to execute all three commands simultaneously, which results in the ship going nowhere, burning fuel, creating a lot of noise and activity, but making no progress toward any destination. This is exactly what happens when you speak positive affirmations in the morning, and then spend the rest of the day speaking words of doubt, fear, and limitation. You are giving contradictory commands, and your subconscious, trying to obey all of them, produces confusion, stagnation, and frustration. The solution is not complicated, but it requires discipline. You must learn to speak with consistency, with clarity, with unwavering commitment to the reality you wish to create. You must become like a captain who gives a single, clear command and then maintains that command, refusing to countermand it with subsequent words of doubt or fear. This is what Shinn meant by speaking the word with authority. It is not about the volume of your voice or the force of your personality. It is about the quality of decisiveness, of commitment, of knowing that when you speak, you are giving a command that will be executed, and therefore you speak only what you wish to see manifest. The engine room of your subconscious is always listening, always ready to execute commands, always waiting for clear instructions from the bridge. It does not judge you for past mistakes. It does not hold grudges. It does not care how many times you have given foolish commands before. It is eternally present, eternally receptive, eternally willing to begin executing a new command the moment you give it. This is the great hope and the great responsibility of understanding this principle. You can change the direction of your life in an instant by changing the commands you give, but you must give those commands through the speaking tube of your voice, not merely in the privacy of your thoughts. Shinn saw that most spiritual teachings of her time were focused entirely on the silent work of impressing the subconscious through visualization, through feeling, through meditation, and while she acknowledged the value of these practices, she insisted that they were incomplete without the deliberate use of the spoken word. Silent thought is like the captain thinking about where to go. It is necessary but not sufficient. The spoken word is the actual command that sets the ship in motion, and without it all the thinking in the world produces no movement, no change, no manifestation. This is why so many people who diligently practice visualization and affirmation in silence see little or no results. They are thinking about giving commands, but they are not actually giving them. The unshakable logic of this principle is that your subconscious mind, like the engine room, cannot refuse to execute a command once it is given. It has no capacity for refusal, no ability to say, "I don't think that's a good idea, Captain." It simply obeys. This means that you have absolute power over your subconscious through the authority of your spoken word, but it also means that you have absolute responsibility. You cannot blame your subconscious for executing commands you gave it. You cannot blame the universe for manifesting what you spoke into existence. You cannot play the victim when your reality reflects the words you have been speaking. The captain who drives his ship onto the rocks cannot blame the engine room for obeying his command. He must accept that he gave the command, and if he wants a different result, he must give a different command. This is the foundation of all conscious creation. The recognition that you are the captain, your subconscious is the engine room, and your spoken word is the speaking tube through which commands travel from one to the other. Once you truly understand this, once you feel the weight of this responsibility and the power of this authority, you can never speak carelessly again. Every word becomes a conscious choice. Every sentence becomes a deliberate act of creation, and you begin to play the game of life with the skill and precision of a master. The ship of your life begins to move toward the destinations you consciously choose, rather than drifting wherever unconscious patterns of speech have been taking it, and this movement is the beginning of true transformation. Before you can speak a word of power, before you can give a command that reshapes reality, you must first prepare the ground of your consciousness, and this preparation is not a matter of technique, but of understanding who you are in relation to the creative force of the universe. The required mindset is one of divine authority, and this phrase must be understood precisely. You are not claiming to be God, in the sense of the ultimate source of all creation, but you are claiming your position as a co-creator, as an expression of divine intelligence operating in human form, as one who has been given the power to command reality through the conscious use of divine law. This is not arrogance, it is the recognition of your true nature, and without this recognition your words will lack the authority necessary to impress the subconscious mind and command the universe. Most people approach affirmations and manifestation from a position of supplication, of begging, of hoping that the universe might, if it is in a good mood, grant them what they desire. They speak their affirmations with a tone of pleading, with an underlying feeling of unworthiness, with a desperate hope that somehow, against all odds, their wish might be granted. This mindset is fatal to manifestation because it reinforces the very state of lack and powerlessness that the person is trying to escape. When you beg, you are affirming that you do not have power, that you are at the mercy of forces outside yourself, that you are small and helpless before the vast machinery of the universe. The subconscious mind hears this tone, receives this message, and dutifully creates more experiences of powerlessness and lack. Shinn taught something radically different. She taught that when you speak your word, you are not asking for anything. You are not requesting permission. You are not hoping for a favorable response. You are commanding. You are declaring. You are establishing divine order in your life. By aligning yourself with divine law and speaking that law into manifestation. This is not a matter of forcing the universe to do your bidding through sheer willpower. It is a matter of recognizing that there are laws governing the creative process, just as there are laws governing physics or chemistry, and when you align yourself with those laws and invoke them correctly, they must produce the corresponding result. The universe is not arbitrary, it is lawful, and law can be understood and applied. The shift from supplication to command requires a fundamental reorientation of your relationship to the creative power that animates all existence. You must come to understand that this power is not separate from you, not distant, not withholding, not judging whether you are worthy to receive its blessings. This power is the very essence of what you are. It is the consciousness that looks out through your eyes, the intelligence that beats your heart, the creative force that has been manifesting your reality all along, whether you were aware of it or not. You are not trying to gain access to this power from the outside. You are claiming your identity as an expression of this power, and from that identity, you speak with authority. This is what Shinn meant when she insisted that you must speak with conviction. Conviction is not the same as emotional intensity or loud volume. It is the quiet certainty that comes from knowing you are operating within divine law, and that divine law must produce the result you are commanding. It is the certainty of a mathematician who knows that 2 + 2 must equal 4, not because he is forcing the numbers to obey him, but because he understands the law that governs mathematics. When you speak a word of power, you are not hoping it will work. You are knowing it must work because you are invoking a law that cannot fail. The preparation of this mindset begins with the recognition that you have been creating your reality all along through the unconscious use of this same power. Every circumstance you are experiencing right now is the result of words you have spoken, thoughts you have held, beliefs you have maintained, and if you created this reality unconsciously, then you can create a different reality consciously. The power has always been yours. You simply haven't known how to direct it. This recognition is liberating because it means you are not trying to acquire something you lack. You are learning to use something you already possess. You are not becoming powerful. You are becoming aware of the power you have always had. Shinn would tell her students to imagine themselves as channels through which divine intelligence flows, and when they speak their word, they are allowing that intelligence to speak through them, to declare its will, to establish its perfect order in the manifest world. This is not a denial of your individuality or your personal will. It is the recognition that your individual will is most powerful when it is aligned with the greater will of the universe, when you are not trying to force reality to conform to your limited ego desires, but are instead declaring the highest good, the perfect outcome, the divine plan for your life. From this place of alignment, your words carry a power that personal willpower alone could never generate. The mental preparation also requires that you release all sense of struggle, all feeling that manifestation is difficult, or that you must overcome resistance to achieve your desires. The universe is not resisting you. It is responding to you. If you feel resistance, it is because you are sending out contradictory signals, commanding one thing with your conscious affirmations and another thing with your habitual negative speech and underlying beliefs. The solution is not to push harder, but to become consistent, to align all levels of your being, thought, word, emotion, and action with the single reality you wish to create. When this alignment occurs, manifestation becomes effortless, natural, as inevitable as water flowing downhill. You must also cultivate a sense of worthiness, not in the sense of earning or deserving, but in the sense of recognizing that abundance, health, love, and all good things are your divine birthright, the natural state of a being aligned with divine law. Lack and limitation are not your natural state. They are the result of misuse of creative power, of speaking words that contradict divine law, of identifying with the ego's sense of separation rather than with your true identity as an expression of infinite intelligence. When you claim your worthiness, you're not being selfish or egotistical. You're simply acknowledging the truth of who you are, and from that truth, you speak with the authority of one who knows they are entitled to receive all good things. This mindset of divine authority must be maintained not only in the moment of speaking your command, but in every moment that follows. After you speak your word, you must hold the consciousness of one who has given a command that is already being executed, one who knows that the subconscious and the universe are now working to bring about the manifestation, and that your only job is to remain in the state of expectation and receptivity. This is where most people fail. They speak a powerful word, and then immediately fall back into the old mindset of doubt and lack, speaking words that contradict their command, worrying about how it will manifest, checking constantly to see if it has appeared yet. This is like planting a seed and then digging it up every day to see if it is growing. You are interrupting the natural process of manifestation by your lack of faith. The preparation of the mind, then, is the cultivation of unwavering faith in the power of your spoken word. And this faith is not blind belief, but is based on your understanding of the law. You have faith that when you flip a light switch, the light will come on. Not because you blindly believe in electricity, but because you understand that there is a lawful relationship between the switch and the light, and as long as the circuit is complete, the law must operate. In the same way, you have faith that when you speak a word aligned with divine law, the manifestation must follow, not because you are hoping it will, but because you understand that there is a lawful relationship between your spoken word and your manifest reality. And as long as you maintain the consciousness of your command, the law must operate. Shinn taught that this mindset of divine authority is not something you achieve once and then possess forever. It is something you must cultivate daily, moment by moment, through vigilant attention to your thoughts, words, and beliefs. Every time you catch yourself speaking a word of lack or limitation, you have an opportunity to correct course, to reassert your authority, to speak a new command that aligns with your desired reality. The game of life is not won in a single moment of powerful affirmation, but in the consistent, daily practice of speaking only words that support your highest good, of maintaining the consciousness of one who knows they are a co-creator with divine intelligence. The mental preparation also includes the willingness to let go of attachment to specific outcomes and timelines. When you give a command to the universe, you must trust that it will be fulfilled in the perfect way and at the perfect time, which may not be the way or the time your limited ego mind has decided upon. This is why Shinn taught her students to always add the phrase, "under grace and in a perfect way," to their spoken commands. It is a recognition that divine intelligence has a broader perspective than you do, can see possibilities you cannot see, and will bring about your manifestation in a way that serves your highest good without causing harm or unintended consequences. This phrase is not a hedge or a lack of faith. It is the ultimate expression of faith, the willingness to trust that the universe knows how to fulfill your command better than you could orchestrate it yourself. Finally, the preparation requires that you approach the practice of speaking your word with a sense of reverence and responsibility, knowing that you are engaging with the most powerful creative force in the universe, the same force that spoke the stars into existence, that maintains the orbits of planets, that grows a human being from a single cell. You are not playing with toys. You are wielding the magic wand of creation itself, and every word you speak is a sacred act, a moment in which you are either consciously creating beauty, abundance, and harmony, or unconsciously creating chaos, lack, and suffering. When you truly grasp the magnitude of this power, you can never again speak carelessly, and this awareness itself is the beginning of mastery. The execution of Shinn's method is not a vague, intuitive process, but a precise three-part formula that transforms your desires from wishful thinking into commands that the universe must obey. This formula is the culmination of her understanding of divine law, distilled into a practical technique that anyone can learn and apply, and when executed correctly, it produces results with a consistency that seems miraculous to those who do not understand the law. The three parts are sequential and essential. You must release the old before you can build the new. You must state the divine truth as a present reality, and you must seal your command with gratitude. Each part serves a specific function in the process of manifestation, and to skip any part is to undermine the entire command. The first step is the clearing, the release of the old pattern, the problem, the limitation that you wish to transform. This step is crucial because your subconscious mind and the universe are currently maintaining the reality you are experiencing based on the commands you have been giving, consciously or unconsciously, up until this moment. If you simply speak a new command without releasing the old one, you are creating conflict, giving contradictory instructions, and the result will be confusion and stagnation. You must first speak a word of release, a declaration that you are withdrawing your energy from the old pattern, that you are no longer claiming it as yours, that you are handing it over to divine intelligence to be dissolved and transformed. The language of release is specific and powerful. You say, "I now release this burden," naming the specific thing you are releasing: debt, illness, loneliness, fear, whatever it may be. You are not fighting against it, not resisting it, not trying to push it away through force of will. You are simply releasing it, letting it go, acknowledging that it has been part of your experience, but that you are now choosing to release your claim to it. The phrase "I now release" is a command to your subconscious mind to stop maintaining this pattern, to stop investing energy in its perpetuation, to allow it to dissolve naturally when your attention and creative power are withdrawn from it. You then add the crucial phrase, "to divine intelligence." This is the recognition that you cannot dissolve the problem through your own limited ego efforts. You are handing it over to a power greater than yourself, trusting that divine intelligence knows how to transform it, how to extract the lesson from it, how to transmute its energy into something that serves your highest good. This is an act of surrender, but it is not a surrender of your power. It is a surrender of your attachment to controlling the how and the when, a recognition that you are working in partnership with an intelligence that is infinitely wiser than your conscious mind. The final phrase of the release is, "It is no longer mine, it is dissolved." This is the definitive statement that severs your identification with the problem. You are declaring that this burden, this limitation, this pain is not part of your identity, not part of your reality, not something you are carrying forward into your future. It is dissolved, meaning it is broken down into its component energies and returned to the formless potential from which all things come and to which all things return. This phrase is spoken with finality, with the authority of one who knows that what they declare is already accomplished in the realm of consciousness and must therefore manifest in the realm of form. An example of the complete release statement would be, "I now release this burden of debt to divine intelligence. It is no longer mine, it is dissolved." Notice the simplicity and directness of the language. There is no pleading, no explaining, no justifying. It is a clean, clear command that does exactly what it needs to do. It withdraws your creative power from the old pattern and hands it over to be transformed. When you speak these words with conviction, with the understanding of the law you are invoking, you will often feel an immediate sense of lightness, of relief, as if a weight has been lifted from your shoulders. This is not imagination. It is the actual energetic shift that occurs when you release your attachment to a problem. The second step is the command itself, the statement of the divine truth, the declaration of your desired reality as if it is already accomplished. This is where most people make fatal errors because they speak from the state of wanting or needing rather than from the state of having. Shinn was absolutely insistent on this point. You must speak your desire as a present moment, completed reality, not as something you hope to have in the future. The subconscious mind and the universe do not respond to future tense. They respond to present tense, to the vibrational frequency of the state you are declaring right now. The structure of the command is precise. You begin with a statement of the source of your good, which is always God or divine intelligence, never a specific person or circumstance. This is crucial because it frees you from dependence on external conditions and aligns you with the infinite supply that is available to you at all times. For example, if you are commanding financial abundance, you do not say, "My boss will give me a raise," because this limits the universe to a single channel and makes your manifestation dependent on another person's decision. Instead, you say, "My supply comes from God," which opens you to infinite channels and infinite possibilities. You then state your desire in the present tense, as a reality that already exists. "I now receive my infinite, immediate, and abundant supply." Notice the power of the words "now" and "receive." The word now places the manifestation in the present moment, collapsing the gap between desire and fulfillment. The word receive implies that the supply is already flowing to you, and you are simply opening yourself to receive it, rather than trying to create it or attract it through effort. The adjectives infinite, immediate, and abundant are not exaggerations. They are statements of the true nature of divine supply, which is unlimited, always available, and more than sufficient for all your needs. The absolutely essential phrase that must be added to every command is, under grace and in a perfect way. This phrase is Shinn's unique contribution to the art of manifestation, and it is the safeguard that prevents your manifestations from coming with unintended negative consequences. When you add this phrase, you are acknowledging that your conscious mind cannot see all the ramifications of what you are asking for, cannot foresee all the ways it might manifest, and you are asking that the manifestation come in a way that is harmonious, that serves the highest good of all involved, that does not create problems even as it solves the one you are focused on. There are countless stories of people who manifested their desires without this safeguard and then regretted it. The person who affirmed for money and then received it as an insurance payout after a tragic accident. The person who affirmed for a relationship and attracted someone who was technically available but completely wrong for them. The person who affirmed for a new job and got it, only to find themselves more miserable than before. The phrase, under grace and in a perfect way, prevents these scenarios by allowing divine intelligence to orchestrate the manifestation in a way that your limited perspective could never plan. It is the ultimate expression of trust in the wisdom of the universe. A complete command statement then would be, my supply comes from God, and I now receive my infinite, immediate, and abundant supply under grace and in a perfect way. This statement is spoken aloud with conviction, with the full authority of one who knows they are invoking divine law. You are not asking, you are declaring, you are not hoping, you are commanding. You are not wishing for a future outcome, you are establishing a present reality. The subconscious mind hears this command, recognizes the authority with which it is spoken, and immediately begins the process of rearranging circumstances, attracting opportunities, and manifesting conditions that align with the reality you have declared. The third and final step is the sealing, the act of giving thanks for the manifestation even before you see any physical evidence of it. This is the ultimate test of faith, and it is also the mechanism by which faith becomes fact. When you give thanks for something you have not yet seen, you are impressing upon your subconscious mind the absolute certainty that it is already accomplished, that the manifestation is inevitable, that it is only a matter of time before the invisible becomes visible. Gratitude is not just a nice feeling, it is a powerful creative force that accelerates manifestation by aligning your vibration with the frequency of having received. The language of gratitude is simple and direct. I give thanks for this perfect manifestation, which is now complete. Notice again the present tense, which is now complete, not which will be complete, or which I hope will be complete. You are giving thanks for a done deal, for a reality that already exists in the realm of consciousness and is now making its way into the realm of form. This act of thanksgiving is not pretending or lying to yourself. It is recognizing the truth that in the dimension of consciousness, where all creation begins, your desire is already fulfilled the moment you speak the command with authority. When you give thanks, you are also closing the loop of the creative process. You began by releasing the old. You commanded the new into being. And now you are acknowledging the completion of the process, sealing your command with the energy of gratitude and faith. This three-part sequence, release, command, gratitude, is a complete cycle of creation. And when executed properly, it sets in motion forces that must produce the corresponding manifestation. The timing may vary depending on factors you cannot see, but the result is certain if you maintain your faith and do not contradict your command with subsequent words of doubt. After you have spoken your three-part command, Shinn taught the importance of what she called the intuitive flash, the sudden hunch or inspiration that often follows a powerful spoken word. The universe does not always manifest your desires through passive waiting. More often, it gives you a clear intuitive impulse, a sense that you should call a certain person, go to a certain place, take a certain action. This intuitive flash is the universe showing you the next step. And Shinn insisted that you must act on it immediately, without hesitation, without waiting to see if it makes logical sense. The logic will become clear in hindsight, but in the moment you must trust the guidance and move. This is the post-technique practice. After speaking your word, you remain alert and receptive to intuitive guidance, and when it comes, you act on it with the same faith and authority with which you spoke your command. The spoken word opens the door, but you must walk through it when the universe shows you where the door is. Many people speak powerful commands and then sit back waiting for the manifestation to drop into their laps. And when nothing happens, they conclude that the technique doesn't work. But the technique did work. It opened the door and provided the guidance, and they simply failed to recognize and act on it. The three-part formula, release, command, gratitude, combined with the willingness to act on intuitive guidance, is the complete technology of conscious creation as Shinn taught it. It is simple enough that anyone can learn it, yet powerful enough to transform any circumstance, solve any problem, manifest any desire that is aligned with your highest good. The key is not in understanding the formula intellectually, but in applying it consistently, speaking your words with unwavering authority, and maintaining the consciousness of one who knows that their commands are already being executed by the infinite intelligence of the universe. Now we arrive at the revelation I promised you in part 1, the specific type of words that act as a cancel order to the universe, instantly neutralizing your positive commands no matter how powerfully you speak them. And these words are so common, so deeply embedded in everyday speech, that you have almost certainly used them multiple times today without even noticing. The first and most fatal category of cancel order words are words of lack and longing. I want, I need, I wish, I hope, I am trying to, I am going to have. Every single one of these phrases is a declaration that you do not currently possess what you desire. And in making this declaration, you are commanding your subconscious mind and the universe to maintain the state of not having. Consider the phrase, I want abundance. On the surface, this seems like a positive statement, an affirmation of your desire for something good. But listen to what you are actually commanding. I want, which means I am in a state of wanting, which means I do not have. The word want is itself a statement of lack. And when you affirm I want abundance, you are not commanding abundance. You are commanding the perpetual state of wanting abundance, and that is exactly what the universe will give you. You will continue to want, to long for, to desire abundance, but you will not have it, because having it would contradict the command you gave. The same is true for I need. When you say, I need more money, you are affirming that you are in a state of need, which is a state of lack. And the universe responds by creating more situations in which you need money. The word need is a trap because it feels urgent and important, but in the realm of manifestation, it is a command to remain in the state of needing. Shinn taught that you must never speak from the consciousness of need. You must always speak from the consciousness of having, of receiving, of being supplied. Instead of I need more money, you say I now receive abundant supply, which is a command for the state of having, not the state of needing. I wish and I hope are equally fatal because they place your desire in the realm of fantasy rather than reality. When you say, I wish I had a better job, or I hope things get better, you are affirming that your desire is just a wish, just a hope, something that may or may not happen, something that is not real in this moment. The subconscious mind hears this and treats your desire as unreal, as a pleasant fantasy that has no power to manifest. Wishes and hopes are for children blowing out birthday candles. Commands are for conscious creators who understand that they are shaping reality with every word they speak. I am trying to is perhaps the most insidious of all because it sounds like you are taking action, like you are making an effort. But in truth, it is an affirmation of struggle and failure. When you say I am trying to lose weight, or I am trying to find a relationship, you are commanding the state of trying, which is by definition a state of not achieving. If you are trying, you are not doing. If you are trying, you are in the process of effort without result. Shinn would tell her students to eliminate the word try from their vocabulary entirely and replace it with I am or I now. Instead of "I am trying to lose weight," you say "I am my perfect weight," or "I now manifest my ideal body." This is a command for the result, not the struggle. "I am going to have" is a future tense trap that keeps your manifestation perpetually out of reach. When you say, "I'm going to have $1 million," or "I'm going to have a happy relationship," you are placing your desire in the future, and the future never comes. The future is always one day away, always just beyond your grasp, and as long as you speak in future tense, your manifestation will remain in the future. The only tense that has creative power is the present tense, because the present moment is the only moment that exists, the only moment in which creation can occur. You must speak as if your desire is already fulfilled now, in this moment, not as something that will happen someday. The second major category of fatal mistakes is what Shinn called arguing with reality. This is the practice of looking at your current circumstances after you have made your command and then speaking words that contradict the command based on what you see. You speak a powerful affirmation for financial abundance in the morning, and then in the afternoon you look at your empty bank account and say, "Well, it's not working. I still don't have any money. This is hopeless." In that moment, you have used your spoken word to cancel your morning command, to reassert the reality of lack, to tell your subconscious mind that the command is not in effect. This is what Shinn meant by pulling up the seeds to see if they are growing. When you plant a seed in the ground, you do not dig it up every day to check its progress. You trust that the seed contains within itself the intelligence and the power to sprout, to grow, to eventually produce a plant. If you keep digging it up, you interrupt the natural process and the seed never has a chance to grow. In the same way, when you speak a command for manifestation, you must trust that the subconscious mind and the universe are now working to bring it about, and you must not interrupt the process by speaking words that contradict your command. The practice of arguing with reality is so common that most people do it dozens of times a day without even noticing. They affirm health and then complain about their symptoms. They affirm abundance and then worry about their bills. They affirm love and then gossip about how lonely they are. Each of these contradictory statements is a new command that cancels the previous one, and the result is that the person's reality never changes because they are constantly commanding it to stay the same even as they claim to want it to change. The solution is to maintain what Shinn called the consciousness of your command, which means that after you speak your word, you discipline yourself to speak only words that support and reinforce that command, and to refuse to speak words that contradict it. If someone asks you about your finances and you have just commanded abundance, you do not say, "I'm broke." You say, "My supply is manifesting now," or "I am receiving abundant blessings," or simply, "I'm doing well, thank you." This is not lying. It is speaking from the reality you are creating rather than from the reality you are leaving behind. The third fatal mistake is idle gossip and negative chatter, the casual habitual speech that most people engage in without thinking, and this is perhaps the most destructive of all because of its sheer volume. You make a powerful 5-minute command for perfect health, and then you spend 30 minutes on the phone complaining about your aches and pains, describing your symptoms in detail, telling your friend about all the things that are wrong with your body. In those 30 minutes, you have given 6 times as many commands for illness as you gave for health, and the subconscious mind gives weight to the most frequent and most emotionally charged words. Gossip is particularly dangerous because it involves speaking negative words not just about yourself, but about others. And according to Shinn's understanding of divine law, what you say about others, you are also saying about yourself, because there is no separation in consciousness. When you gossip about someone's financial troubles, you are affirming the reality of financial trouble in your own consciousness. When you complain about someone's health problems, you are impressing your subconscious with the reality of health problems. When you criticize someone's relationships, you are commanding relationship problems in your own life. This is why Shinn taught that you must speak only good of others, must see only their highest potential, must refuse to participate in negative conversation about anyone. The discipline required here is immense, because negative chatter is the default mode of most human conversation. People bond over complaints, share their problems as a form of intimacy, use gossip as entertainment. But if you are serious about mastering the game of life, you must break these habits completely. You must become vigilant about every word that comes out of your mouth, must catch yourself before you speak a word of lack or limitation, must consciously choose to speak only words that align with the reality you are creating. This is not easy, especially at first, but it becomes easier with practice, and the results are so dramatic that the effort is more than worthwhile. Shinn would often tell her students that the tongue is the most powerful and the most dangerous member of the body, capable of creating heaven or hell with equal ease. The same tongue that can speak a command for abundance can speak a command for poverty. The same tongue that can bless can also curse. The same tongue that can heal can also harm. The key is to bring the tongue under conscious control, to make it the servant of your highest intentions rather than the mouthpiece of your unconscious fears and limiting beliefs. This is the work of a lifetime, but it is also the work that transforms a life from ordinary to extraordinary, from limited to limitless, from unconscious creation to conscious mastery. Having understood the fatal mistakes, you are now ready for the master's tips, the subtle refinements that separate those who occasionally manifest from those who consistently command reality with precision and power. Shinn's first and most important tip is this: when you have a hunch, act on it at once. The intuitive flash, the sudden impulse, the feeling that you should do something even when it doesn't make logical sense. This is the universe's way of guiding you toward your manifestation, and the speed with which you act on it determines the speed with which your manifestation arrives. Most people receive intuitive guidance constantly, but ignore it because it doesn't fit their logical plans, because they want to think about it first, because they are afraid of looking foolish or making a mistake. But Shinn understood that intuition is the language of divine intelligence, and when it speaks, you must obey immediately, without hesitation, without analyzing. The hunch to call a certain person might lead to the job opportunity you commanded. The impulse to take a different route home might lead to the chance encounter that changes your life. The feeling that you should attend a certain event might put you in the right place at the right time to receive your manifestation. The key word in Shinn's instruction is at once. Not later, not when it's convenient, not after you've thought about it. At once, immediately, in the moment the hunch comes. This is because intuitive guidance is time-sensitive. It is showing you a window of opportunity that may close if you hesitate. The person you were meant to call might leave town tomorrow. The event you were meant to attend might be today only. The opportunity you were meant to seize might be gone if you wait. Divine intelligence is orchestrating a complex dance of circumstances to bring about your manifestation, and your part is to follow the guidance the moment it comes. This requires a level of trust and surrender that most people are not comfortable with, because it means acting without knowing why, without seeing the whole plan, without understanding how this action will lead to your desired result. You must become like a chess player who trusts their intuition about the next move even when they can't see the full strategy, knowing that their subconscious mind is processing patterns and possibilities that their conscious mind cannot grasp. The more you practice acting on your hunches, the stronger your intuitive faculty becomes, and the more directly and quickly your manifestations arrive. Shinn's second master tip is equally profound. There is no separation in divine mind. Therefore, what I see others to have, I have the power to attain. This statement is a direct challenge to the consciousness of envy, jealousy, and comparison that plagues most people when they see others enjoying the very things they desire for themselves. The typical response to seeing someone else's abundance is to feel lack in yourself, to think, they have it and I don't, which is a command for continued lack. Shinn taught that this response is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how reality works. In divine mind, which is the consciousness of infinite abundance, there is no scarcity, no competition, no limited supply that must be divided among many people. What one person has does not diminish what is available to you, because the source is infinite and the supply is inexhaustible. When you see someone enjoying health, wealth, love, or success, you are seeing a demonstration that these things are possible, that they exist in manifest form, that the universe is capable of producing them. This is evidence for your own manifestation, not evidence against it. The master's practice, then, is to bless what you see in others, to give thanks for their good fortune as proof that your own good fortune is possible and on its way. When you see someone driving the car you want, instead of feeling envious, you say, "I bless that person's abundance and I know that my perfect car is now manifesting for me." When you see someone in a loving relationship, instead of feeling lonely, you say, "I give thanks for the love in the world, and I know that my perfect relationship is now coming to me." This practice transforms jealousy into faith, comparison into confidence, and it aligns your vibration with the frequency of having rather than the frequency of lacking. Another crucial tip from Shinn is to use specific, concrete language in your commands rather than vague generalities. Instead of saying, "I have a good job," you say, "I have the perfect job that uses my talents, pays me abundantly, and brings me joy." Instead of saying, "I have enough money," you say, "I have a continuous, abundant flow of money that exceeds all my needs and desires." The more specific you are, the clearer the command you are giving to your subconscious mind, and the more precisely the universe can deliver what you are asking for. However, Shinn also taught that you must be careful not to limit the universe by being too specific about the how. You can be specific about what you want, but not about how it must come. For example, you can command, "I now receive $20,000, but you should not command, "I now receive $20,000 from my employer as a bonus," because this limits the universe to a single channel and may prevent a better, easier, more graceful way of receiving the money. Always leave room for the universe to surprise you with its creativity and generosity by adding the phrase, "this" or something better, under grace and in a perfect way. Shinn also emphasized the importance of speaking your commands aloud, not just thinking them silently. The spoken word carries a vibrational power that silent thought does not, and it also commits you in a way that private thinking does not. When you speak aloud, you are making a public declaration, even if no one else is present to hear it, and this declaration has a solemnizing effect that impresses both your subconscious mind and the universe with the seriousness of your intention. Find a private space where you can speak your commands with full voice and full conviction, and make this a daily practice. Finally, Shinn taught that you must be willing to release your attachment to the specific form your manifestation takes, and trust that divine intelligence will bring it to you in the perfect way. Sometimes what you think you want is not what you actually need, and the universe will give you something even better than what you asked for if you are open to receiving it. The phrase, "this" or "something better" is your acknowledgement that you are not trying to control the universe but are working in partnership with it, trusting that it knows better than you do what will truly serve your highest good. The spoken word is not merely a metaphysical concept or a spiritual belief. It is a principle that finds validation in the most rigorous domains of modern science, and one of the most striking bridges between Shinn's teachings and contemporary research is found in the field of cymatics, the study of how sound vibration creates geometric patterns in matter. In the 1960s, Swiss scientist Hans Jenny conducted experiments in which he placed sand, water, and other substances on metal plates and then vibrated those plates with specific sound frequencies. What he discovered was astonishing. The sound vibrations organized the formless substances into precise, complex, beautiful geometric patterns, and different frequencies produced different patterns with mathematical regularity. When the sound stopped, the patterns dissolved back into chaos. When the sound resumed, the patterns reappeared. The implications of this discovery are profound. Sound is not just an ephemeral vibration that exists for a moment and then disappears. It is a force that actively organizes matter, that imposes structure on chaos, that creates form from formlessness. If a simple sound frequency can organize sand into intricate mandalas, what can the complex vibrations of human speech do to the formless energy of the quantum field, the invisible substrate from which all material reality emerges? This is not just metaphysics, it is physics. The spoken word is a sound vibration, a compression wave traveling through the air, and according to the principles demonstrated by cymatics, this vibration has the power to organize energy into patterns. When you speak a command for abundance, you are not just expressing a wish. You are sending out a vibrational frequency that begins to organize the formless energy of the universe into the patterns of abundance. When you speak words of lack and limitation, you are sending out a different frequency that organizes energy into patterns of lack and limitation. The universe is responding to your vibrational output, and your words are your primary tool for generating that output. Modern quantum physics has revealed that at the most fundamental level, reality is not made of solid, separate objects, but of energy and information, of probability waves that collapse into particles when they are observed. The observer effect, one of the most well-established and most mysterious findings of quantum mechanics, demonstrates that consciousness plays a role in determining what becomes real. When you speak a word, you are not just observing reality, you are participating in its creation. You are collapsing probability waves into specific outcomes through the focused intention carried by your voice. Neuroscience provides another bridge to Shinn's teachings through the discovery of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated thoughts and behaviors. When you speak an affirmation repeatedly, you're not just impressing your subconscious mind in some vague, mystical sense. You are literally creating new neural pathways, strengthening certain connections and weakening others, physically reshaping your brain to support the reality you are declaring. The neurons that fire together wire together, and every time you speak a word aligned with your desired reality, you are firing and wiring the neural networks that will support that reality. The field of psychoneuroimmunology has demonstrated that your thoughts and words directly affect your immune system, your hormonal balance, and your overall physical health. Studies have shown that people who maintain a positive, optimistic outlook and speak positive words about their health have stronger immune responses, lower levels of stress hormones, and better health outcomes than those who speak negatively. This is not the placebo effect in the sense of self-deception. It is the direct effect of conscious intention on the physical body, mediated through the nervous system and the endocrine system. The reticular activating system, RAS, in your brain provides yet another scientific explanation for why spoken affirmations work. The RAS is a filter that determines what information from your environment reaches your conscious awareness, and it is programmed by your goals, beliefs, and habitual thoughts. When you speak a command for abundance, you are programming your RAS to notice opportunities for abundance, to filter in information that supports your manifestation, to make you aware of resources and possibilities that were always there, but that you were previously blind to. This is why people who affirm for a specific car suddenly start seeing that car everywhere. The car was always there, but their RAS was not programmed to notice it. The science of epigenetics has revealed that your genes are not your destiny. That gene expression is influenced by environmental factors including stress, nutrition, and importantly, your beliefs and expectations. When you speak words of health and vitality, you are not just thinking positive thoughts. You are potentially influencing which genes are turned on or off in your cells, activating healing mechanisms and deactivating disease processes. The mind-body connection is not a metaphor, it is a biological reality, and your spoken word is one of the most powerful tools you have for influencing that connection. The field of interpersonal neurobiology has shown that human beings are wired for connection and that our nervous systems are constantly influencing each other through a process called co-regulation. When you speak words of encouragement, love, and affirmation to others, you are not just being nice. You are literally helping to regulate their nervous system, to calm their stress response, to activate their social engagement system. This is why Shinn taught that blessing others and speaking well of them is not just spiritually correct, but practically effective. You are creating a field of positive energy that affects everyone around you, and that ultimately returns to you as your own experience. The concept of morphic resonance proposed by biologist Rupert Sheldrake suggests that there are invisible fields of information that connect all living things, and that these fields are strengthened by repetition. Every time someone speaks a word of truth, of love, of abundance, they are strengthening the morphic field of that quality, making it easier for others to access that same frequency. This is why spiritual practices and affirmations that have been used by millions of people over centuries carry a special power. You are not just speaking your own words, but tapping into a collective field of intention that has been built up over time. The science of sound healing and frequency therapy has demonstrated that specific sound frequencies can have measurable effects on the body, from reducing pain to accelerating healing to altering brainwave states. The ancient mystics knew this when they developed practices like chanting, mantra repetition, and sacred sound. And modern science is now confirming what they understood intuitively. Sound is medicine, vibration is power, and the human voice is one of the most versatile and potent instruments for healing and transformation that exists. The field of linguistics and cognitive science has revealed that language is not just a tool for communication, but a tool for thought itself, that the words available in your language shape the thoughts you can think and the realities you can conceive. When you expand your vocabulary to include words of power, possibility, and abundance, you are literally expanding your capacity to think and create in those directions. This is why Shinn was so particular about the exact words her students used. She understood that language shapes consciousness, and consciousness shapes reality. The concept of the observer effect in quantum physics, combined with the principle of intention demonstrated in consciousness research, suggests that focused, emotionally charged intention can influence physical systems, even at a distance. Studies on the effects of prayer and intention on everything from plant growth to human healing have shown small but statistically significant effects, suggesting that consciousness is not confined to the brain, but is a field that can interact with other fields. When you speak a word with conviction and emotion, you are broadcasting an intention that has the potential to influence reality at a distance, to attract circumstances and people that align with your command. The science of vibration and resonance teaches us that everything in the universe is in a state of vibration, from the atoms in your body to the planets in space, and that objects with similar frequencies tend to resonate with each other, to amplify each other's vibrations. When you speak words of abundance, you are setting up a vibrational frequency that will resonate with and attract other frequencies of abundance, people, opportunities, resources that are on the same wavelength. This is the scientific basis for the law of attraction. Like frequencies attract like frequencies, and your spoken word is the tuning fork that sets your frequency. The emerging field of biofield science is beginning to measure and map the electromagnetic fields that surround and interpenetrate the human body, fields that appear to carry information and to be influenced by thought and emotion. When you speak a powerful affirmation, you are not just creating sound waves in the air. You are also generating changes in your biofield, in the electromagnetic signature that you are broadcasting to the world, and this signature influences how others respond to you and what opportunities come your way. All of these scientific findings point to the same conclusion that Shinn taught from her spiritual understanding. The spoken word is a force that shapes reality, not through magic or superstition, but through lawful, measurable, reproducible mechanisms that operate at the intersection of consciousness and matter. You are not a passive observer of a pre-existing reality. You are an active participant in the creation of reality, and your primary tool for participation is the vibrational power of your spoken word. This is not belief. This is physics, biology, neuroscience, and quantum mechanics all pointing to the same truth that the mystics have always known. Beyond the scientific validation, Shinn's teachings are powerfully confirmed by the countless stories of transformation she documented in her work with students and clients, and one of her most famous anecdotes demonstrates the principle of the spoken word with perfect clarity. A woman came to Shinn desperate for a new apartment, having been forced to leave her current home and unable to find anything suitable in a city where housing was scarce and expensive. The woman was caught in the typical trap of manifestation. She was looking at the outer conditions, seeing only lack and impossibility, and speaking words of worry and frustration that were commanding more lack and impossibility. Shinn instructed the woman to stop looking at the conditions and to start speaking the word for her perfect apartment. The woman was to affirm daily with absolute conviction, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for my perfect apartment, the perfect place, at the perfect price, in the perfect location, and I give thanks that I am now led to it under grace and in a perfect way." Notice the precision of this command. It specified what was desired, perfect apartment, but not how it would come, and it included the crucial phrases, under grace and in a perfect way, and I give thanks, to seal the command with faith and gratitude. The woman followed the instructions, speaking her word faithfully every day, and then something remarkable happened. She received a hunch, an intuitive flash, to walk down a particular street she had never walked before, in a neighborhood she had not considered. She followed the hunch, and as she walked, she passed a beautiful building. At that exact moment, a woman came out of the building, and some impulse caused our seeker to speak to this stranger. In the conversation that followed, the woman from the building mentioned that she was moving out of her apartment at the end of the month and had not yet listed it. The apartment was perfect in every way, the right size, the right location, the right price, even furnished with furniture that suited the seeker's taste. The manifestation came not through the normal channels of apartment hunting, not through real estate listings or advertisements, but through what appeared to be an impossible coincidence, a chance encounter that was in fact the universe responding to a clearly spoken command. The woman had affirmed for her perfect apartment under grace and in a perfect way, and grace delivered it through a chain of circumstances that her conscious mind could never have planned or predicted. This story illustrates several key principles of Shinn's teaching. First, the importance of specificity combined with surrender. The woman was specific about what she wanted, but surrendered the how to divine intelligence. Second, the power of the intuitive flash. The hunch to walk down that particular street at that particular time was the universe's guidance, and acting on it immediately was what brought the manifestation. Third, the principle of grace. The manifestation came easily, naturally, without struggle or force, through a seemingly chance encounter that was in fact divinely orchestrated. Shinn documented dozens of similar stories in her books, each one demonstrating the same principle. When you speak your word with authority, when you maintain the consciousness of your command, and when you act on the intuitive guidance that follows, the universe must respond, and it responds in ways that often seem miraculous to those who don't understand the law. A man affirms for his perfect business opportunity and receives a phone call from someone he hasn't heard from in 20 years, offering exactly what he had commanded. A woman affirms for healing and encounters a doctor at a social event who mentions a treatment she had never heard of, which turns out to be exactly what she needs. These are not coincidences. They are the law in action. The spoken word sets up a vibrational pattern. The subconscious mind and the universal intelligence begin orchestrating circumstances to match that pattern, and synchronicities multiply as the invisible becomes visible. What appears to be luck or chance is actually the precise operation of divine law responding to a clearly spoken command. The more you practice this principle, the more you will recognize these orchestrations in your own life, and the more your faith in the power of your spoken word will grow. Shinn herself lived by these principles and demonstrated their effectiveness in her own life, manifesting everything from financial supply to healing to opportunities through the conscious use of the spoken word. She was not teaching theory. She was teaching from direct experience, and her students' successes were the proof of the teaching's validity. The game of life is not a game of chance, but a game of law, and those who learn the law and apply it consistently win the game, not through struggle or luck, but through conscious mastery of the creative power of speech. We have journeyed through the forgotten power of the spoken word, from its foundational principles to its precise application to the scientific validation that confirms what the mystics have always known. And now we arrive at the synthesis, the integration of all these elements into a unified understanding of your true nature and your true power. Your voice is not merely an instrument of communication, it is your instrument of creation, the magic wand that Florence Scovel Shinn recognized as the most direct and powerful tool for commanding reality. Every word you speak is a command, an incantation, a spell being cast, and whether you are aware of it or not, you are constantly shaping your reality through the vibrational frequency of your speech. The game of life is not a game of acquiring external things or achieving conventional success. It is a game of learning to consciously direct your creative power, and the spoken word is the primary mechanism through which this direction occurs. You are not a victim of circumstances, not a passive recipient of whatever life happens to deliver to you. not at the mercy of forces beyond your control. You are a co-creator with divine intelligence, endowed with the same creative power that spoke the universe into existence, and you exercise that power every time you open your mouth to speak. The synthesis of Shinn's teaching is this: your words are not just communication, they are causation. They are not merely describing reality, they are prescribing reality, commanding it into being, shaping the formless energy of the quantum field into the specific forms and circumstances of your lived experience. This is not poetry or metaphor. It is the literal truth about how consciousness interacts with matter, how intention becomes manifestation, how the invisible becomes visible. You are constantly casting spells with your speech, and the question is not whether you will use this power, but whether you will use it consciously or unconsciously, skillfully or unskillfully, in service of your highest good or in perpetuation of your limitations. The master of life is one who has learned to guard their speech as carefully as a swordsman guards his blade, knowing that every word is a cut that shapes reality, and that the master swordsman never makes an accidental cut. You must become vigilant about every word that comes out of your mouth, catching yourself before you speak words of lack, limitation, doubt, or fear, consciously choosing to speak only words that align with the reality you wish to create. This vigilance is not a burden but a liberation, because it is the path to conscious mastery, to the ability to deliberately create your life rather than unconsciously reacting to it. The power you have been seeking outside yourself, in techniques, in teachers, in circumstances, has been inside you all along, residing in the simple act of opening your mouth and speaking with authority and conviction. You do not need to acquire this power. You need only to recognize it, claim it, and learn to direct it consciously. The game of life is won by those who understand that they are not players in someone else's game, but creators of their own game. And the rules of the game are simple. Speak your desired reality into being, maintain the consciousness of your command, act on intuitive guidance, and watch as the universe rearranges itself to match your word. The universe is not deaf. This is the truth that must sink into the deepest levels of your being. The universe is not deaf, not indifferent, not withholding, not judging whether you are worthy to receive its blessings. The universe is listening intently to every word you speak, waiting for your command, ready to respond with the full force of its infinite intelligence and infinite power. Every time you open your mouth, you are addressing the creative power of the cosmos itself, and that power must respond to you because you are an expression of it, because there is no separation between you and it, because your voice is its voice speaking itself into new forms. The tragedy of most human lives is that people use this divine power unconsciously, carelessly, destructively, speaking words that create the very suffering they claim to want to escape. They use their magic wand to describe their prison rather than to declare their freedom, to reinforce their limitations rather than to command their liberation, to perpetuate their pain rather than to manifest their healing. They do not understand that every complaint is a command for more to complain about, that every word of lack is a command for more lack, that every expression of limitation is a command for more limitation. But you now know better. You now understand that your voice is not a passive instrument for reporting on conditions, but an active instrument for creating conditions. And with this understanding comes both tremendous power and tremendous responsibility. You can no longer blame your circumstances on bad luck, on other people, on the economy, on your past, on anything outside yourself, because you now know that your circumstances are the perfect reflection of the words you have been speaking, consciously or unconsciously, for days, months, years, perhaps your entire life. If you don't like what you're experiencing, you must change what you're speaking. The world you desire is not far away, not impossible, not reserved for the lucky few or the specially gifted. The world you desire is one spoken command away, one shift in consciousness away, one decision to stop using your divine power to create suffering and start using it to create joy. You have been given the most powerful tool in the universe, the creative power of speech, and you have been using it to build a prison. It is time to use it to build a palace. It is time to stop describing what is and start declaring what will be. It is time to stop being a victim of your words and start being a master of them. This is not about positive thinking or pretending that problems don't exist. It is about recognizing that problems exist in the realm of form, because you have been commanding them into existence in the realm of consciousness, and that you can command something different. When you speak a word of power, when you declare your freedom, when you command your abundance, you are not denying current conditions. You are refusing to give them authority over your future. You are withdrawing your creative power from the old pattern and investing it in a new pattern. And as you maintain this shift in consciousness through consistent, vigilant speech, the outer world must eventually conform to the inner word. The empowerment that comes from understanding this principle is absolute. You are not waiting for permission from the universe, not hoping that circumstances will change, not dependent on other people's decisions or actions. You are the one with the power. You are the one giving the commands. You are the one who determines what your reality will be. The universe is your servant, not your master, and it waits upon your word with perfect obedience and perfect efficiency. When you truly grasp this truth, when you feel it in your bones, when you know it with unshakable certainty, you become unstoppable, because you understand that the only thing standing between you and your desired reality is the decision to speak it into being, and to maintain that speaking with unwavering faith. Stop using your divine power to describe your prison, and start using it to declare your freedom. Stop speaking words of lack and start speaking words of abundance. Stop complaining about what is wrong and start commanding what is right. Stop gossiping about problems and start declaring solutions. Stop affirming your limitations and start affirming your limitless potential. The power is yours, the choice is yours, the responsibility is yours, and the results will be yours. You are not a victim of life. You are the creator of life, and your spoken word is the brush with which you paint your reality on the canvas of the universe. I now issue you a challenge, a test of your understanding and your commitment, a practice that will reveal to you just how unconsciously you have been using your creative power and just how much discipline is required to use it consciously. For the next 24 hours, I challenge you to go on a verbal fast, a fast from all negative, complaining or lack-based words. For 24 hours, you will speak only of what you want to be true, only of abundance, health, love, success, joy, and possibility. You will refuse to speak any word of lack, limitation, fear, doubt, complaint, or criticism, no matter what circumstances you encounter, no matter what problems arise, no matter what other people say to you. This challenge sounds simple, but I promise you it will be one of the most difficult things you have ever attempted, because you will discover just how deeply ingrained your patterns of negative speech are, how automatically words of complaint and limitation flow from your mouth, how much of your daily conversation is devoted to discussing problems rather than solutions, to describing what is wrong rather than declaring what is right. You will catch yourself dozens of times about to speak a word of lack, and you will have to consciously stop yourself, bite your tongue, and choose a different word. This is the practice of conscious creation, and it is hard work. But the rewards of this practice are immediate and profound. Within 24 hours of speaking only words that align with your desired reality, you will notice a shift in your energy, in your mood, in how other people respond to you, in the opportunities that seem to appear out of nowhere. You will begin to feel the power of your spoken word as a tangible force, and you will understand viscerally, not just intellectually, that you have been creating your reality with your speech all along. The verbal fast is not just an exercise, it is a revelation, a direct experience of the principle we have been exploring throughout this video. When you complete your 24-hour verbal fast, I want you to come back to this video and share your experience in the comments. Tell us what you noticed, what was difficult, what shifted for you, what you learned about your habitual patterns of speech. Your testimony will inspire others and will reinforce your own commitment to conscious creation. And if you find the practice valuable, extend it to 48 hours, then 72, then a week, and watch as your entire life begins to transform in response to your transformed speech. This challenge is not about perfection. It is about awareness and practice. You will make mistakes, you will slip back into old patterns, you will speak words of lack and limitation despite your best intentions. When this happens, do not judge yourself or give up. Simply notice what you said, Speak a word of release and correction, and begin again. The game of life is not won in a single moment of perfect affirmation, but in the consistent daily practice of catching yourself, correcting yourself, and choosing your words more consciously each time. If you are ready to pick up your magic wand and consciously speak your desired world into existence, if you are ready to stop being a victim of unconscious speech patterns and start being a master of conscious creation, if you are ready to play the game of life with skill and win it with grace, then I invite you to subscribe to the Master's Legacy. This channel is dedicated to exploring the profound teachings of the great masters of the mind, those rare individuals who understood the laws of consciousness and reality and who left us practical techniques for applying those laws in our daily lives. Florence Scovel Shinn is one of these masters, and her teaching on the spoken word is one of the most powerful and practical tools you will ever encounter. But she is not alone. There are other masters whose wisdom we will explore, other principles we will uncover, other techniques we will practice. If you want to continue this journey of conscious mastery, if you want to learn from the greatest teachers who ever lived, if you want to transform your life from ordinary to extraordinary through the application of timeless principles, then subscribe now and join a community of seekers who are committed to playing the game of life and winning it. The spoken word is your magic wand. You have been waving it unconsciously all your life, creating chaos and limitation without realizing what you were doing. Now you know. Now you understand. Now you have the knowledge and the tools to wave it consciously, to create beauty and abundance and joy with every word you speak. The only question is, will you use this knowledge or will you return to unconscious creation? Will you take up the challenge or will you continue in the old patterns? The choice is yours, the power is yours, and the results will be yours. Choose wisely, speak powerfully, and watch as your world transforms in response to your word.